Alright, like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what it is. My head looks ruthless. Why? Because we're doing a movie called The Ruthless. And it's Netflix time. A rebellious teen grows up to become one of Milan's most ambitious criminals during the golden years of the ndrangheta mafia in the 1980s. Apparently, it's a movie based on real life that came out 2019, an hour 51 minutes long. Spoiler alert, let's just get it. So we see our man Santos just chilling in the spot. It's the 1990s at this point. He goes to get fresh, whips around that classic old school Porsche. Yeah. He goes to his man's spot where he be collecting cars and stuff. While he's checking out a classic joint, his man talks to somebody in the office. These niggas roll out like, man, you owe some money, what's good? You got about 1 week to pay it. Hey, you all know what happens if he doesn't. This was they showed us at the beginning. Now we're going to go back to 1967. He was on the train with his mom and his brother Luigi. Yeah, Luigi's a star, not Mario. Anyway, the dad picked him up from the train station. His dad was a shepherd and he was very strict on his kids. He would do work and hang out at the butcher shop sometimes, fucking with the owner and whatnot. Then he was walking past real gangsters, thugs, and G's. He was looking at the top 5 criminals in the city, especially this guy right here. They were called Daddy's Boys. Later on, they get introduced to Mary and her parents. And there's Mary. He's like, we will celebrate New Year's like a family if you don't show up and kick your ass out. Of course, New Year's comes, he ain't there. He out chilling and shit, smashing hookers and whatnot. Police weren't even looking at them though, they was looking at the stolen bike. And they took him in, but I believe they ain't had nothing to do with it. So after they got locked out, they called his parents where they were, but he was like, man, you got the wrong number. Straight disowned him and shit. So basically, he in juvie. When he's in jail, he meets this guy named Slim. He's in there getting initiated. That's right, he's sticking his head in a dirty toilet. Yeah, Sato got his ass whipped. Goes to the nurse's station, gets checked up. Starts feeling all on her. Damn, his face was fried. Damn, she about to get down to business. Turns out this nigga was dreaming and shit. So Slim tells his backstory. Apparently, he's in jail for robbery, assault, and a bunch of other things. The moment he got with Slim, Sato started delivering payback on these niggas. 1978, these niggas free, and they about to rob some shit. And these niggas end up robbing a cleaning place. It was so unorthodox, but they got the job done. Now you get respect from niggas going to strip clubs, all that shit. And there's his boy Slim and Dusty. Remember the guy with all the cars? That's him. Little shorty dancing for people, you already know what time it is. Sato ended up giving her that business. Walking around while 2 others want the same treatment. Then they all get together at the coffee shop. And they meet with the higher-ups who don't know who he is. But he introduces himself and he needs opportunity. So they was going to have his boys rob this spot which seemed like impossible to rob. One, there was a police station right next to it. So how are they going to attempt to do this? By dressing up like police. So they're going to make it seem like they're checking some unofficial evidence or something like that. And that's when they go to strike. They go in and Dusty's watching the door. I was about to say, you better have somebody watch it because ain't nobody in the car and shit. Like, come on. And then they get upstairs. Slim starts meleeing niggas. Sato's like, alright, I think that's enough. Y'all niggas open up the safe. We try to get the jewels, the cash. While they do that, the real police happen to show up. Keep cool, Dusty. Don't be doing nothing stupid. While they get the cash, Dusty rings the doorbell and learns that the boys are out here. So they're walking away all casual. All they do is get in their car, drive away like nothing happened. But then these fuckers just start running for them. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? You just get in the car. Don't ask me how, but they outran the police. Those other boys are happy they got the jewels. Now he's invited to their functions and all that stuff. And at the function, she happens to see Mary, who she hasn't seen in about a decade. They get to talking now, all of a sudden he interested in her. She done grown up. But then his brother got beat up a little bit because he owes money. How much he owes? 150K. Now he gonna confront the boys who made it happen. Turns out it was this nigga who we always thought was shifty anyway. Santo's still cordial for one. He had helped him out with his job or whatever. And two, you know he got plans for him later. Next thing you know, we see this scene where they back in the car. Next thing we know, we found out these motherfuckers into kidnapping too. He talking shit, they start to stomping a nigga for no reason. So apparently this has been all over the news. Somebody's willing to pay $1 million reward for him. So here's the guy that's looking for him, and he keeps getting these clues of where to go. But Slim had him tailed and let Santo knows that the cops are behind him too. He got undercovers and shit. But Santo was prepared for the whole thing, so he left a bunch of random clues until the police just got tired of following this guy, which surprisingly enough ended up happening. He finally gets over to this wall where they have a grave site, and he tells them to toss the bundle over the wall. They got the cheese, they got the cash. Then they dropped his ass off in the dumpster and dipped out. So what's he doing all that? He goes back to see Mary. But the little brother cock blocking, he ain't getting no action right now. Next day outside the parking lot, him and Dusty, who they waiting on? And they was eyeing my mans, you already knew it was coming. So basically he felt like, what was he gonna do? Apologize and still have to give him the money anyway? He's like, man, fuck all that. So they car chase him on the highway, bumped into the back of his car, he stops, they get out, and he done deals up right then and there. Now I'm thinking to myself, how you gonna shoot a boss or a made guy? Apparently Santo was big time too, so I guess. They call kills miracles. Apparently that was his first one. And your first kill is to kill a supposed made man. What the fuck? And after all that shit, this nigga sneaks back over to Mary's house, sneaks into the bed, and officially gives her the business. Next thing you know, he put a bun in the oven, and they getting married. You're probably wondering at this point, where's his family? Well, they there, they watching the wedding and all that shit. And then here comes the bride. Right before they about to get married, the boys show up. Okay, so something about the jewelry they stole when they impersonated cops. Some of the jewelry was turned out to be fake jewelry. This guy confessed and gave up names, and he got arrested right then and there. But they still put the rings on, said I do's, and all that, officially married. People weren't even surprised by this, like this is just a regular thing that happens in weddings and shit. I mean, they all dressed up like they had a funeral for one anyway. They lawyer like, don't worry about that shit, we have you out in no time. He was locked up for 3 years at that point, this nigga grew a mullet, and Mary got their son. So Mary was doing things on her own, she was sewing and whatnot, but she wasn't making a whole lot of money. But of course when he gets out, right back down that business. And that's when his boy Dusty got into the car trafficking business. They give Sato a red Porsche and rides out. Meanwhile, making that pop conducted other business with people that weren't trying to follow suit. Mary at the house sewing and whatnot. She was involved in his activities. Meanwhile, I got to the point, Sato was just out here lacing niggas. And I mean a lot of niggas. Just left and right. Giving everybody the business. This kid was just funny. Look how he goes around the steps. It was like slow motion and shit. So now he had enough money, he wanted to buy her a flat so he could get up out of that spot. A lot of open space that is great, right in front of this infamous church. Looks familiar, right? Anyway, he meets back up with Dusty. Then this guy gets his car ran into by this chick. It's not like they're on the road, they're in the middle of the ballroom show. It's like, what the fuck? So anyway, while he's wilding her out, and he calms his ass down, he starts apologizing to her and all that. She's like, look, he good, don't worry about it, you know what I'm saying? He leaves and then they get to talking. Turns out she's some type of artiste. And he wants to use her to color the walls of the new apartment that they got, a complex. Yeah. He gets a business card, and you already know what's going through his brain, and they end up going to dinner. He's looking at her and staring at her chest the whole time. You can already tell what his mind is. You just wonder how he got to be where he's at because his moves are always so reckless. To almost getting caught with the robberies, to not even cleaning up bodies, they're just leaving them out there. Like, how's this guy still running around free? Then they get back in the car, then she pulls out his ring and was like, I knew you was married, nigga, but I don't give a fuck about that. And they still end up going to his house. It's like, what the hell? The thing is, they're not living in the flat just yet. They're still in the other house. So she wants to go over there to see it before she paints it, right? Yeah. You already know what's about to happen. Later on, they go to this warehouse. And this guy helps him out with an idea about just putting in heroin in the warehouse. Talking about you'll make $100 million a month doing this transaction. How would that even have been possible even back then in 1981? It's just fucking crazy to even think about. And now it's 1984. They're not getting along the best. They have a little bit of problems. They live in a nicer house now, but they don't live in a flat like he promised. And she's probably getting her suspicions about what he's doing. So Shorty's still around, and guess what? Santo and her stay in that flat. And we got a reporter that talks to him about stuff, about what he does. He's talking about stuff, but it looks like he wants to give her the business too. But he keeps his mind focused on Shorty, somewhat. Back at the warehouse, they expanded on their project, getting down that business. And they're a bunch of happy campers. Going out with his Shorty to clubs. He used this guy to test out drugs. Then we found out the dude is actually Slim's cousin. I'm like, wow. More partying. Mary's feeling lonely at the house. Easily can still get it, but she's just feeling lonely. As you already knew, Santos was giving her the business. Meanwhile, Slim getting high on his own supply. That's the #1 rule. We know you're not supposed to be doing that shit. Then at Santos' house, this girl's having these so-called exhibits. And he's talking to this guy. He's like, okay, where's the artwork? The thing is, he talks about he's selling inspiration. But Santos, like anybody else would, thinks it's a scam and some bullshit. Then he starts getting jealous of dude. He's like, really? With your wife's situation? I thought our relationship was open anyway. Now, Santos a while ago talked to his wife Mary about going to therapy and stuff like that. But apparently this day she actually took him up on it. Then she started reading this magazine and had pictures of the artist and the businessman. Basically Santos and this other chick. Then if you look over here, see the area that they're in. So I know she's thinking in the back of her mind, he's probably smashing this chick. And on top of that, thinking to herself, that's the villa that he got her in. The one they were supposed to get together. So while she's compiling all this, she's about to go to a therapy class. Turns out it was definitely one that Santos recommended because he had the room tapped. And could pretty much hear everything that's going on in there. She thinks all her husband cares about the ambitions and stuff. She thinks he doesn't care about her no more. And after hearing all this, we find out that he actually has 2 kids now. And it was at this point she started having a mental breakdown. So after all that, the therapist asks, do you think your husband's cheating on you? And then she totally flips it around and denies it. Like, how could you even think that? And then she storms out the office. Later on, the boys get together. So now the boys are talking about getting Slim up out of here because he's losing control. He began high on his own supply. Cops stopped him and locked him up. And he had the drugs on him. He was just high shit on the street just walking around. I know it's his boy, but you can't have niggas losing control over this amount of money. It's too high. It's too risk at stake. Yeah. Then he said they had another problem with the lawyer. So their lawyer is having a problem getting Slim out of there. So what they want to do is give up Slim so they can get somebody else out of jail. So once again, the lawyer was basically trying to fuck over Slim so they can get somebody else out. Problem with that is he knows too much about the operation. And Santos can't have that shit happening. So he like, look here, folks, you better figure out something. Meanwhile, Mary's been having counseling sessions with the pastor. You got 2 kids to look after. Don't crack under the pressure. So somehow the lawyer got Slim free. Don't ask me how. So now they tell Slim they need him to kill Boggs. But Slim has no idea why. Meanwhile, damn, Mary, it's come to this? Mary almost tried to kill herself, yo. She couldn't do it. She slipped up and accidentally shot the mirror. Yeah, Santos got her head all the way fucked up. Santos comes back in the house and finds all of his stuff gone, like all his clothes and everything. So we're thinking to ourselves, did Mary move the fuck out? But no, it turns out she cut her hair and she sold all this shit. He is extremely pissed off. He wants all that shit back. He is beyond heated. I was thinking to myself, he got money. So the stuff he had hid in the closet, could that have been evidence towards something? Or maybe he's just pissed off because she did something unnecessary. Either way, she's willing to stand by all of it. And then we get to Slim. And they're waiting on the lawyer to come out. Now I thought at this point Slim was only going to be the one getting yoked up or whatever like that. Turns out they ended up killing both of them niggas. Slim and Boggs done deal did his shit. Bottom line, when there's that much money involved, he ain't letting nothing fuck up his plans. Man, this shit wild. Then you got this guy again. He's like posing naked in his house. All these people are staring like it's really supposed to be art. Santos comes home. He's like, man, I had enough of this shit. And he comes in and breaks off this nigga, fucking his face up, and everybody just starts clapping. I'm like, pfft. Then after seeing how crazy he is on the opposite end of the spectrum, she wants him to marry her. Later on, he basically gets his son to tell his mom a message. And not but in so many words, he's basically asking for a divorce. Yeah, man, that shit is wild. So she goes over to the flat and meets Shorty face to face. And she's not dumb. She shows her what her husband is and what he's really about, and she knows everything. She's like, if you want to take on that job, be my guest, but know that it's a fucking handful. And then she dips out. Now all of a sudden the kids are grown up. Mary's making phone calls. Back to where we at to 1990. She comes by with the boys and all that, but he basically lives there alone. Then we see that he's on tape talking to some people trying to get a deal going. So he talks to them about the people that came to him in a warehouse, in the car shop. He basically got some kilos of coke for free that they weren't aware about, which they just caught on to. So that's why he owes them money. What those guys didn't count on was the fact they was ready to lace niggas and get down to business. This nigga was running for his life. All them other niggas got duffed. Yeah, they got fried. So you don't come to my place of business with that bullshit. This nigga trips over something, he falls, hey, he looks like he's about to see death. So then he lets him go and tells him to get the fuck out of here. You know you got that feeling this is gonna come back to bite him, right? Now he's back chilling with his family at the carnival. And in the distance he sees Shorty, who's waiting on somebody else. And all of a sudden the boys roll up on him. Wife looking at him like, again, here we go again with this. He thinks he's gonna be out soon. Same dude he let go got arrested again for dealing coke and stuff like that. Blah blah this. He told him everything, snitching. And that's how Santos got locked up. So his wife didn't want him in this jail. He was going to have him transferred to better conditions. So she was going to have him transferred to a spot called Battle. The problem is he got niggas over there that want to kill him after he wiped out the boss that was fucking with his brother. So yeah, that shit ain't gonna work. But now since you're wondering, since his wife knew everything, did she do this shit on purpose? And she was just waiting for the right time to get him? Because this is like 6 years after her telling the girl everything. Bottom line, at this point, he don't got a choice. Then he has this vision about his wife being a nun, trying to suffocate him in his sleep. Talk about repent. And the more I look at this scene, the more I think to myself, maybe she did do that on purpose. So to see him be transferred to another jail, because you know he's gonna get killed, this guy gets immunity and he tells everything. Niggas get racked up left and right, masterminds getting yoked up, everybody. Even Dusty got yammed up. He was still smiling and taking pictures for the camera and shit. All them niggas was getting on average 20 to 30 years. So now in 2002, he lives on some remote island in the middle of nowhere, so nobody could ever find him. Never see his wife and kids again, just chilling walking his dog. He meets another girl walking her dog, you already know how this goes, and he's basically living out there for the rest of his life. It's a wild ass story. It's just amazing how he was so reckless with a lot of stuff and got away with so much shit. Yeah, he got locked up a couple times, but still. The Ruthless on Netflix. Check it out. Like, subscribe, do all that. You're on the top. This is the best. Big. You got a slogan.